The night was cold, and the city lights flickered like tired stars. On the far edge of the human colony stood an old building made of metal and glass. It was silent, except for the low hum of broken machines. A faded sign hung above the entrance. The letters were almost gone, but one could still read the words. Alien Shelter 9. Inside, the air smelled of rust and dust. The long hall was filled with small rooms, each holding beings from other worlds. They were children, abandoned, forgotten, left behind after wars and accidents. Some had 4 eyes, some had wings, some had strange colored skin. Most sat quietly, their faces empty of hope. No one visited this place. Humans feared it. Aliens hated it. Only the workers stayed, tired and cold, doing their jobs without care. But tonight, a man entered. His name was Daniel Rains. He was not rich, not powerful. Just an ordinary man in his 30s. He wore a long coat and his boots were wet with rain. His eyes moved across the hall with quiet sadness. The workers looked at him with surprise. "Are you lost?" one woman asked. Daniel shook his head. "No, I'm here to adopt." The woman laughed softly, shaking her head. "Nobody adopts here. You know what they are." Daniel's voice was steady. "They're children. That's enough." The woman sighed and opened the gate. "Fine. But don't say we didn't warn you." Daniel walked down the hall past rows of rooms. Alien children watched him with wide, empty eyes. Some looked away. Some hid. None spoke. He felt the weight of their silence pressing on him. Then, in the last room, he stopped. A small girl sat alone in the corner. Her skin was pale, almost silver. Her hair was dark and thin. Her eyes, large and glowing faintly, were the color of melted steel. She did not move, not even when Daniel stepped closer. The worker behind him whispered, "That one." "No one chooses her." Daniel turned. "Why not? She never eats, never speaks. Machines break when she's near. Lights flicker. People feel strange. We call her cursed." Daniel looked at the girl again. She was thin, fragile, like she carried the weight of 1,000 years. But he also saw something else, loneliness deeper than words. He knelt on one knee. "Hello," he said softly. "My name is Daniel." The girl raised her eyes for the first time. She stared at him, silent, as if measuring his soul. Daniel smiled, though his heart ached. "I don't care what they say, you shouldn't be alone." The worker frowned. "You won't last a week. She will break you like she breaks everything." Daniel stood. "Then I'll break. But I'm taking her." The worker shook her head, filling out the adoption papers with quick, sharp movements. Her face was pale, almost fearful. She muttered under her breath, "He doesn't know what he's doing." When the gate opened, Daniel stepped into the room. The girl did not move as he offered his hand. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly she lifted her small hand and placed it in his. Her skin was cold, but alive. A faint hum filled the air. The light above them flickered once, twice, and then steadied. Daniel felt something in his chest, like a whisper that was not sound, a presence that touched his mind. It was not words, only a feeling. Sadness too heavy for a child to carry. He squeezed her hand gently. "Don't worry. You're safe with me now." The girl blinked once, but still said nothing. Daniel signed the final paper. The worker gave him a long, pitying look. "Good luck. You'll need it." He carried the girl out of the shelter. Rain tapped against the roof. The city lights glowed red in the distance. As they walked into the night, Daniel spoke softly to her. "I don't know your name, but that's okay. You don't have to speak until you want to." The girl stared up at the sky, her glowing eyes reflecting the storm. And far behind them, inside the shelter, the workers whispered to each other. "He took her. He'll regret it. No one survives with her." No one. But Daniel did. Not here. He only held the girl's hand tighter as if that alone could protect her. Yet deep in his mind, a question formed. Why was she feared? Why did they call her cursed? And in the quiet of the storm, he thought he heard a whisper in his head. Not his own, not human. A voice as fragile as glass. Don't let them find me. The rain followed them home. Daniel's small house stood on the edge of the city, far from the shining towers where rich people lived. It was quiet here, surrounded by broken roads and old factories. He unlocked the door and stepped inside, carrying the strange girl close to him. The house smelled of wood and tea. It was warm, a sharp contrast to the cold streets outside. Daniel set the girl down on a chair near the fire. She did not look around, did not move. She sat perfectly still, her glowing eyes fixed on the flames. Daniel placed a plate of bread and soup on the table. Here, he said gently. You must be hungry. The girl did not touch the food. She only stared. He tried again. It's safe. You can eat. Still nothing. Not even a blink. Daniel sighed. He sat across from her, resting his elbows on the table. You don't have to talk. You don't even have to eat right now. But you're not alone anymore. For hours, he watched her. She never spoke, never ate. At last, tired, he stood. All right, let me show you your room. He guided her down a narrow hall to a small bedroom. The walls were plain, the bed simple but clean. A soft blanket waited for her. This is yours now, Daniel said with a small smile. No one will bother you here. The girl walked inside, without a word. She sat on the bed, her back straight, her eyes still glowing faintly in the dark. Daniel left the door open and whispered, "Good night." But that night, sleep did not come easily. The first strange thing happened at midnight. Daniel woke to a sound like a whisper, too soft to be real. He sat up, listening. The lights above flickered once, then twice. The heater in the corner clicked and died. Silence filled the house. He rose, heart beating fast, and stepped into the hall. A faint glow leaked from the girl's room. Not from a lamp, her eyes. She sat on the floor now, staring at the wall, whispering something in a language Daniel could not understand. The air around her seemed heavier, pressing against his chest. "Hey," Daniel said softly. The whispers stopped. The girl looked up at him. For the first time, emotion showed on her face. Not anger, not joy, but deep, endless fear. Daniel knelt by the door. "It's okay. You don't have to be afraid." But she only lowered her head, covering her ears, as if to block out voices only she could hear. Then, as suddenly as it started, the light bulb above them exploded with a sharp crack. Daniel shielded his face, heart racing. When he looked back, the girl was curled against the wall, trembling silently. He wanted to reach for her. He wanted to comfort her. But something held him back. Something in the air, thick and heavy. Like the room itself was alive. The second strange thing happened the next morning. Daniel entered the kitchen and froze. Every clock in the house had stopped at the same exact second, 3:15 a.m. The air smelled faintly of smoke, though nothing had burned. He found the girl sitting at the table, her hands folded neatly in her lap. She stared at nothing, silent. Daniel poured her a glass of milk, placed it before her. Again, she did not touch it. Finally, he sat down across from her. "I don't know your story. I don't know why they call you cursed. But I know this. Whatever you're carrying, you don't have to carry it alone." For the first time, her eyes shifted toward him. Cold silver glowing faintly, searching his face as if trying to read his heart. Daniel leaned forward. "I'll protect you, no matter what." The girl blinked slowly, almost like disbelief. Then she looked away again, her silence heavier than words. That night, the third strange thing happened. Daniel was dreaming, At least he thought he was. He was standing in a dark field under an alien sky. The stars above him twisted and bent, like liquid. And in the middle of the field the girl stood. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever. Her voice finally reached him, soft as the wind. "Run." Daniel woke with a start, his chest tight, sweat cold on his skin. The clock beside his bed read 3:15 a.m., the same time all the clocks had stopped before. His breath caught. Slowly he turned toward the doorway. The girl stood there in the shadows, her silver eyes glowing like two small moons. She did not move. She did not blink. She only whispered one more word into the silence. "Run." The house shuddered as if the earth itself had heard her. Lights flickered, the windows rattled, and somewhere far outside, alarms began to wail. Daniel froze, his blood running cold. Who was this girl? And why was she telling him to run? The night was heavy with silence, but Daniel's heart pounded like thunder. He sat frozen on his bed, staring at the girl standing in the doorway. Her glowing silver eyes never blinked, never looked away. The single word she had spoken echoed in his mind. "Run." Before he could speak, a sharp sound cracked through the night. Not thunder, not the storm. It was mechanical, metal against metal. Daniel rushed to the window. Outside, the quiet street glowed red with strange lights. Dark vehicles rolled in, silent as shadows. Men in black armor stepped out, their helmets shining with green glass. They moved like hunters, careful and fast. Daniel's blood turned cold. Whoever these people were, they weren't neighbors, they weren't police. The girl whispered again, this time with more force. "Run!" Daniel grabbed his coat and motioned to her. "Come on, we have to go." She did not hesitate. She moved, close, holding his hand tightly as they slipped out the back door. The city was quiet, but not empty. The armored men spread across the street, scanning with strange devices. Their boots made no sound, their movements too precise, too cold. Daniel pulled the girl into a narrow alley. He pressed against the wall, breathing hard, listening. A voice echoed from the soldiers, sharp and commanding. "Target confirmed. Silver Eye subject is inside the perimeter. Orders are capture or terminate." Daniel's stomach dropped. They weren't after him. They were after her. The girl looked up at him, her small hand trembling in his. Daniel whispered, "Why are they hunting you?" She said nothing, but her eyes, those endless, glowing eyes, spoke of truths too heavy for words. They ran through the alleys, the night alive with red scanning lights. Twice, soldiers passed so close that Daniel could hear their breathing inside the helmets. Twice, the girl pulled him just in time, as if she already knew where the hunters would turn. At last, they reached the edge of the industrial zone. Rusted, towers stretched into the clouds, the air smelled of oil and ash. Daniel thought they had escaped. Then a sharp beam of light struck them. "Target locked," a soldier's voice roared. Daniel pulled the girl and sprinted into a broken factory. Metal rang under their feet. The soldiers followed, their weapons glowing with strange blue light. Inside, shadows stretched like claws. Machines long dead stood, like skeletons. Daniel ducked behind a rusted engine, pulling the girl close. His chest heaved, but hers did not. She was calm, too calm. Then something happened. The air around them bent like heat rising from the ground. Time seemed to slow. The sound of boots, shouts, even the hum of the weapons, all of it dulled, like the world was far away. Daniel turned. The girl's eyes glowed brighter, silver fire burning in the dark. She lifted one small hand. The metal around them groaned, then twisted, bending like clay. The nearest soldier was thrown backward, slammed into the wall with crushing force. Daniel's mouth went dry. What are you?" The girl lowered her hand. The glow faded and she swayed, weak. She leaned against him, almost falling. The silence broke with shouts. "Careful! She's using it again! Don't let her escape!" Blue blasts of energy struck the walls, tearing holes through steel. Daniel grabbed her and ran deeper into the factory, heart racing, They burst into an open hall. The roof was broken, the moonlight pouring in like silver fire. The soldiers surrounded them in seconds, weapons raised. A tall figure stepped forward. His armor was darker than the rest, marked with sharp red lines. His voice was cold, without mercy. There she is. Subject 11, the lost weapon. Daniel froze. Weapon? She's a child. The commander's green visor turned toward him. She is not a child. She is the tool that destroyed Colony Theta. She killed thousands without a thought. She belongs to us. Daniel's stomach twisted. His mind screamed at him to run, to let go, to escape alone, but his hand tightened around hers. I don't believe you, he said. His voice shook, but he did not move. She's not what you say. The commander raised his hand. Soldiers aimed their weapons. The girl looked up at Daniel. For the first time, her lips moved with effort. Her voice was soft, broken, but clear. Don't leave me. Daniel's heart cracked. Never. And then the world exploded. Light burst from her eyes, blinding white. The air screamed as every weapon shattered. Soldiers flew like dolls, crashing into steel walls. The floor cracked under their feet. Daniel shielded his face, the force pressing against him like a storm. When the light faded, silence returned. The soldiers lay broken and scattered. The commander stood barely. His visor cracked, his voice trembling with rage. She is dangerous. She is death itself. And you are a fool. Daniel pulled the girl close. She was weak, shaking, her glow fading. The commander pointed at them, voice echoing through the ruined hall. This is not over. The galaxy will burn before we let her go. His soldiers began to rise again like shadows returning. Daniel knew the truth. There would be no safety, no peace. Whoever this girl was, the entire galaxy wanted her, and he, a simple man, had chosen to protect her. His breath caught as he held her tighter, his mind filled with one desperate thought. How long could they run before the whole world caught up? The factory walls shook as soldiers pushed forward again. Smoke filled the air, broken steel groaned, and Daniel knew they had seconds left before being surrounded. He grabbed the girl's hand. We can't stay, we have to move. Her silver eyes flickered weakly. She was exhausted, almost too tired to walk, but she followed him without a word. Together they ran through the shattered halls, past twisted machines and burning wires. Behind them, voices shouted, Seal the exits, don't let them escape. Daniel's lungs burned, but he did not stop. The girl's hand was cold in his, but she held on tightly. They burst out of the factory into the night. Ahead, the city stretched like a maze of steel and shadow. Red searchlights swept the sky. Drones floated above the rooftops, scanning every corner. Daniel pulled the girl into the streets, moving fast, hiding in alleys, ducking under broken bridges. Every step felt like a battle. Finally, they reached the old spaceport on the edge of the colony. It was nearly dead. Most ships had left years ago, leaving only wrecks and forgotten junk. Daniel stared at the rows of broken shuttles. Most were rusted, their engines silent, but one, half buried under dust and scrap, looked barely intact. He pointed. That one. It's our only chance. The girl looked at him with tired eyes but nodded once. Inside the shuttle, dust coated every surface. Wires hung from the ceiling, panels were broken, and the engine looked like it hadn't started in years. Daniel dropped into the pilot's chair and slammed the controls. Nothing. Dead. He cursed under his breath. Come on, come on. The girl stepped forward. She placed her small hand on the broken panel. For a moment, silence. Then, light. The ship hummed. Sparks leapt from dead wires. Screens flickered alive one by one. The old engine roared like a beast waking from a long sleep. Daniel turned, stunned. You fixed it? She said nothing, only lowered her hand slowly, her face pale with effort. Daniel stared at her, his mind racing. She wasn't just powerful, she could bend machines. Bring them back to life, he whispered. Who are you really? But there was no time for answers. Outside, the sound of armored boots grew louder. The ship's doors creaked shut as soldiers stormed the port. Red lights cut through the dust. Bullets of energy struck the hull, shaking it hard. Daniel shouted, over the roar. "Hold on." He pulled the lever. The shuttle's thrusters screamed, struggling, then blasted upward. The ground trembled as the old ship tore free from its grave of rust. The soldiers fired wildly, their shots exploding against the hull. One struck the wing, tearing metal apart. Sparks rained inside. Daniel gritted his teeth. Stay together. Damn it! The shuttle rose higher, engines crying until at last they broke through the clouds. The stars spread across the sky, endless and cold. Daniel let out a shaky laugh. We did it. We're free. But the girl shook her head. Her voice, soft and broken, reached him. No. Not free. Not yet. The radar beeped. Daniel looked at the screen and froze. Something massive loomed ahead. A ship. No, not just a ship. A warship. Its dark hull stretched across the stars like a shadow big enough to swallow the sky. Its cannons glowed faintly, aimed directly at them. Daniel's chest went cold. No, no, no. The comm crackled alive. A deep voice thundered through the cabin. Unidentified shuttle. Power down engines and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in destruction. The girl pressed her face against the window, her eyes wide, glowing faintly in the starlight. Daniel saw fear there, but also something else. Recognition. She whispered almost to herself. They found me. Daniel turned sharply. Who? Who are they? But she only shook her head, her voice trembling. Not soldiers. Not human. Worse. The warship moved closer, its size filling the windows until it seemed like a planet of steel. Daniel gripped the controls, his hands shaking. His shuttle was too old, too broken. He couldn't outrun them. The girl reached out, placing her hand on his arm. Her voice was calm now, almost resigned. You chose me. Now you will see why no one else did. Daniel stared at her, his heart caught between fear and hope. The warship's lights flashed. Its voice returned, colder than death. Subject 11. You belong to us. Daniel's grip tightened. Not while I'm alive. But deep down he knew. This was only the beginning of something far greater than he had ever imagined. The girl's silver eyes glowed brighter, filling the cabin with light. And in the endless silence of space, the hunted child whispered one word that made Daniel's blood turn to ice. War. The alien warship hung in the void like a mountain of steel. Its black surface swallowed starlight, and its cannons glowed, with quiet menace. Daniel's shuttle trembled under its shadow. Inside, alarms screamed. The old ship shook as energy beams locked onto them. Daniel's hands tightened on the controls. He knew the shuttle could never fight, never outrun. Beside him, the girl sat still, her silver eyes fixed on the warship. She did not tremble. She did not blink. The comm crackled. The same deep voice thundered again. Subject 11, you will not escape. Prepare for capture, Daniel muttered under his breath. Not if I can help it. He yanked the controls, sending the shuttle spinning. The engines roared, but the warship moved like a predator, silent, patient, certain. Then, before the weapons fired, a new sound filled the air, a low hum, rising higher until it became a pulse that rattled the cabin. Daniel frowned. What now? The girl closed her eyes. Light shimmered from her skin, soft and silver. The shuttle shook harder, then without warning it vanished from the warship's scanners. The comm went silent. The warship slowed, confused. Daniel's mouth fell open. You hit us? The girl opened her eyes slowly, her face pale. Not for long. And she was right. The hum faded. The warship began scanning again, sweeping the stars with beams of light. Suddenly, another ship appeared. Smaller, older, but still alive. It was alien, with curved wings and glowing engines. It slid between Daniel's shuttle and the warship, broadcasting a signal. The comm crackled once more, but this time a different voice spoke. Calm, ancient, human, alien child. Follow us if you wish to live. Daniel hesitated. His instinct screamed not to trust strangers, but the warship was charging weapons again. He had no choice. He pulled the controls, guiding the shuttle after the mysterious ship. Together, they dove into a nearby asteroid field. The chase was chaos. Rocks the size of towers drifted through space, crashing into each other. The warship's cannons fired, but the smaller ship weaved through the asteroids with practiced grace. Daniel followed clumsily, nearly smashing into stone more than once. At last, the smaller ship led them into a hollow asteroid, a cave large enough to hide a fleet. The engines powered down. Silence returned. Daniel sat back, shaking. I can't believe we made it. The girl only watched, quiet as ever. The alien ship opened its doors, signaling for them to dock. Daniel hesitated again, then finally guided the shuttle into place. When the hatch opened, the air smelled strange, like old fire and dust, and waiting inside was an alien elder. He was tall, his skin dark blue with lines of gold running across. Yet his eyes glowed faintly, not silver but deep green, wise and tired. He wore no armor, only a cloak that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Daniel stepped out cautiously, the girl at his side. The elder raised one hand in peace. His voice was low, heavy with age. Do not fear. I am not your enemy. Daniel narrowed his eyes. Who are you? The elder looked at the girl. I am one who remembers, one who knows her truth. Daniel swallowed. Truth? You mean, why they're hunting her? The elder nodded slowly. His gaze softened as it rested on the girl. She is not a weapon, as the humans claim. She is the last survivor of a fallen race, a race that carried a gift both feared and desired. Daniel frowned. A gift? The elder's voice lowered. The power to bend the living and the dead, to touch machines, to touch minds, to touch the very fabric of time, a power that once built empires and destroyed them. Daniel's chest tightened. He glanced at the girl. She stood silently, her silver eyes downcast, as if she had heard these words before. The elder continued. She was not born to destroy. She was born to choose. Our prophecies spoke of her, the child of silver eyes, the one who would decide the fate of many worlds. Daniel whispered, Decide. How? The elder looked at him, his green eyes heavy with sorrow. If she is guided by fear, she will bring fire. If she is guided by hope, she will bring peace. But either way, blood will follow her. Daniel felt the weight of those words sink into his bones. He remembered the soldiers calling her a weapon. He remembered the light that shattered steel and bent reality. But when he looked at her now, he saw only a thin child, silent and lonely, clutching, his hand as if it was her only anchor in the galaxy. He shook his head. No, she's just a girl. The elder's voice deepened. A girl who carries more than any soul should, and now you carry her with you. Know this, human. By protecting her, you have chosen a path that no one survives unchanged. Daniel's mouth went dry. He wanted to argue, to deny it, but deep down he already knew it was true. The girl finally spoke. Her voice was soft, almost broken. He chose me. He stays. Daniel looked at her, stunned. It was the first full sentence he had heard from her. The elder's expression darkened. Then so be it. But know this. The humans will never stop hunting you, and the shadows will not wait much longer. Daniel frowned. Shadows? The elder's voice lowered to a whisper. There are forces darker than humans or aliens, forces that wish to use her for something greater, something worse, and they are already moving. A chill ran down Daniel's spine. He asked, What do they want? The elder's green eyes glowed brighter. His answer was a single word, heavy as stone. Everything. The elder's words hung heavy in the air. Forces darker than humans or aliens. They want everything. Daniel sat in silence inside the alien ship, his mind spinning. He wanted to believe this was all some nightmare, but the girl's hand in his reminded him it was real. The elder finally spoke again. You cannot stay here. The humans are searching. They will burn this system to the ground to find her. Leave quickly before the shadows do. Daniel swallowed. Where should I go? The elder's green eyes narrowed. Home. Return to your people, but be warned. Home may not welcome you back. Hours later, Daniel's shuttle descended through the clouds of Earth's colony world. The sky glowed red with evening light, and below the city spread like a sea of towers and glass. The girl sat beside him, silent, her silver eyes watching everything. Daniel felt her tension, like she already knew what waited below. When they landed, the port was crawling with soldiers. Daniel's chest tightened, but instead of pointing weapons, they saluted. A man in a sharp uniform approached. His coat carried silver badges, his face calm and cold. He smiled at Daniel like an old friend. Mr. Rains, we've been waiting. Daniel stiffened. How did you know? The man raised a hand. We know everything, and we are not your enemy. His eyes slid toward the girl. You've been misled. The aliens want you to think she is hope, but she is danger, and we, the humans, are the only ones who can keep her under control. Daniel felt the weight of the words. The man's tone was steady, persuasive. He sounded reasonable. The officer continued. Come with us, you'll both be safe. We will protect her. We will protect you. Daniel wanted to believe him. He wanted to believe humans could protect their own. But the girl's small hand tightened around his. Her silent eyes never left the officer. She did not trust him, and neither did Daniel. They were escorted through shining halls of steel and glass. Soldiers lined the walls, watching with sharp eyes. At last, they entered a chamber filled with glowing screens. At the center stood a woman, in white, her uniform brighter than the rest. She was older, her face marked with lines of command. She looked at Daniel with a calm smile. You must be tired. You've been carrying a heavy burden. Daniel frowned. I didn't come here to hand her over. I came to find truth. The woman nodded slowly. And the truth is simple. That girl you hold, she is not a child. She is a weapon. She already destroyed one colony. Do you want her to destroy another? Daniel's voice sharpened. No, she's not what you think. The woman's eyes softened, but her voice stayed cold. You are blinded by emotion. You see a girl. We see numbers. Casualties, planets lost, futures burned. One mistake from her and millions die. Will you gamble humanity's survival on a child you barely know? The room fell silent. Daniel's heart pounded. He looked at the girl. She was trembling now, her eyes lowered as if ashamed. Daniel whispered, Tell me it's not true. Tell me you didn't. Her silver eyes lifted slowly. They shimmered with tears. Her voice cracked, fragile as glass. I didn't mean to. It was an accident. Daniel froze. The woman in white seized the moment. You see, she said sharply. Even she admits it. She is the weapon. You cannot protect her, but we can. Hand her over, and your part is done. You can go back to your life. Safe. Free. The offer hung in the air like a blade. Daniel's hands shook. He could end it here. He could give her to them and walk away. But when he looked at her again, her small hand clutching his, her trembling shoulders, her desperate eyes, he knew the truth. She wasn't asking him to save her. She was asking him not to abandon her. He took a deep breath. No, she stays with me. The woman's smile vanished. Her eyes turned sharp as knives. Then you are a traitor to your own kind. The soldiers raised their weapons. The girl gasped, her silver eyes blazing with sudden light. Energy crackled through the room, shaking the walls. Screens exploded. Sparks rained down. The soldiers stumbled, blinded by the glow. Daniel grabbed her hand. Run! They broke into the halls, alarm screaming. Red lights flashed as soldiers poured in from every side. The girl's powers surged, bending doors, shattering guns, twisting steel. But each use left her weaker, her body trembling with the effort. At last, they reached the outer gates. Daniel shoved them open, dragging her into the night air. But before they could escape, a shadow stepped into their path. It wasn't a soldier. It wasn't human. Its form shifted like smoke, its eyes two burning embers, its voice was cold and hungry. At last, the child of silver eyes. Daniel froze. What are you? The shadow's voice echoed, sharp and cruel. The end, and she belongs to us. The girl's hand clutched his tighter than ever, her whisper trembling in his ear. Daniel, it's them, the shadows. The shadow stood in the gateway like living smoke, its body twisting and shifting as if it was not bound by flesh. Its ember-like eyes glowed in the dark, hungry and cruel. Daniel froze, his breath caught in his chest. He had faced soldiers, warships, and lies, but this thing was different. It felt older, darker, like it had been waiting for this moment for centuries. The girl trembled beside him. Her silver eyes glowed faintly, but her voice was weak. It's them, the ones behind everything, the shadows. The creature's voice spread through the air like poison. You cannot run anymore, little child. You belong to us. Your power was born from us. We will finish what began long ago. Daniel stepped in front of the girl, fists clenched though he had no weapon. If you want her, you'll have to go through me. The shadow laughed, a sound colder than death. A human, standing against eternity, foolish. Its form stretched, turning into a storm of smoke and claws. Soldiers behind them opened fire, but their bullets passed through the shadow like dust. In moments, the soldiers were gone, consumed, their screams vanishing into silence. Daniel's heart pounded, but he didn't move. He shielded the girl with his body, even as fear crushed him. The girl whispered, Daniel, I can stop them, but I'll need all my power. Daniel turned sharply. Will it hurt you? Her silver eyes flickered with sadness. Yes. Daniel shook his head. Then no. We'll find another way. But she squeezed his hand tightly. Her small voice carried more strength than ever before. You chose me. Now I choose. I will not run anymore. The shadow struck, claws of darkness ripping through the air. Daniel pulled the girl close, but she stepped forward instead. Her silver eyes blazed, brighter than ever, until the whole street glowed with light. Her small body trembled, but she lifted her arms and faced the monster. The shadow screamed as the light touched it, twisting violently. No, you are ours. The ground shook, buildings cracked, windows shattered, soldiers and civilians alike fell to their knees as the light spread wider. Daniel staggered, shielding his eyes. He could feel the power, raw, endless, almost unbearable. But then he saw her face. Tears streamed down her cheeks as the light poured from her. She wasn't fighting with hate. She was fighting with sorrow and with mercy. The shadow roared, again, splitting into 1,000 smaller forms trying to swarm her. But each time they touched the light, they burned, screaming. Daniel shouted over the chaos, "Don't let it consume you. You're more than this." Her voice shook but carried across the storm. I am not a weapon. I am not theirs. I am me. With a final cry, she released everything. The night sky turned white. The shadows shrieked, their voices echoing through the city like thunder. One by one they burned away, ripped apart by the silver light until nothing remained but silence. Daniel collapsed to his knees, covering his head. When the light faded, he looked up. The shadows were gone. The city was broken, but alive. People stumbled out of hiding places, their faces filled with awe and fear, and in the center of the ruins the girl stood. Her silver glow was dim now, flickering like the last flame of a candle. She swayed, weak, and fell. Daniel caught her in his arms. Her voice was soft, barely more than a whisper. Did I do it? Daniel's throat tightened. Yes. You saved us. You saved everyone." She gave a faint smile, her small hand resting against his chest. Then, it was worth it. Her eyes closed, her glow fading completely. Daniel held her tightly, tears burning his eyes. "Stay with me, please." But she did not answer. Hours later, the military arrived. They found Daniel kneeling among the ruins, holding the unconscious girl. Soldiers pointed weapons, officers shouted orders, but no one dared approach because everyone had seen it. The light, the battle, the truth. She was not a weapon. She was their savior. The next days were chaos. News spread across the colonies. Some called her a hero, others called her a threat. War councils gathered, alien voices joined. The galaxy was watching now. Daniel never left her side. She slept deeply, as if locked in a dream, her body fragile but alive. When at last she stirred, Daniel whispered, "You don't have to fight alone anymore. Whatever comes, we face it together." Her silver eyes opened slowly. She looked at him, tired but calm, and for the first time she spoke with strength. "Then we begin again." Far above, in the silence of space unseen by all, something stirred. A voice whispered through the void, dark and patient. "She has chosen mercy, for now. But mercy will not save them forever. The game has only started." The stars flickered, as if listening, and the war for the galaxy waited in silence.